Stop for a moment. Before you scroll past this message, before your attention moves to the next video or the next distraction, pause right here. Take a breath. Because what you are hearing right now is not an accident. You did not land on this message randomly. You were not guided here by an algorithm alone. There is something deeper happening in this moment. Heaven has been watching the season you have been walking through. Every quiet struggle, every silent prayer, every moment when you wondered if anyone truly understood what was happening inside your heart. And now, in this exact moment, God is speaking, not to the crowd, not to everyone at once, but personally to you. My beloved child, listen carefully. I arranged this moment long before you pressed play on this video. I saw the condition of your heart today. I saw the thoughts that passed through your mind when you woke up this morning. I saw the heaviness you carried before you even stepped out of bed. You may not have spoken those thoughts out loud, but I heard them. You may not have called them prayers, but they reached me anyway. I know the version of you that the world sees, the version that shows up in public, the version that smiles when people expect you to smile, the version that says, "I'm fine," even when something deep inside you feels exhausted. But I also know the private version, the one that wakes up in the middle of the night, the one that stares at the ceiling at 3 a.m. while your mind runs through every worry, every memory, every fear, the one that keeps going during the day, but falls apart when no one else is watching. I have seen all of it. I saw the mornings when peace lasted only a few seconds after you opened your eyes. Those brief moments before reality returned. Before the responsibilities, the pressure, the uncertainty, all came rushing back. And I saw how you still got up. You still moved forward. You still carried the responsibilities that were placed on your shoulders. Even when your strength felt smaller than the day ahead. My beloved child, I saw the effort it took just to keep going. I saw the courage it took to keep believing. Even when the evidence around you seemed to suggest that nothing was changing. You wondered if you were behind in life. You looked at the lives of others and quietly asked yourself a painful question. Why does it seem like everyone else is moving forward, while I feel stuck in the same place? You saw people building families. You saw people reaching goals. You saw people celebrating moments that you once imagined would already be part of your own story. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet fear began to form. The fear that maybe something had gone wrong in the timeline of your life. The fear that maybe you missed your moment. But listen to me now, my child. You are not behind. You have not missed your moment. Your story is not delayed because you failed. Your story has been unfolding according to a preparation you could not yet see. From where you stand, the waiting looked like silence. But from where I stand, the waiting was preparation. Every season that felt empty was building something inside you. Every closed door was redirecting you. Every delay was shaping the strength you will need for the next chapter of your life. Nothing has been wasted. Not a single tear, not a single prayer, not a single night when you felt like you were holding on by the smallest thread of faith. I saw those nights. The nights when you whispered my name into the darkness of your room. Maybe you didn't even call it prayer. Maybe you simply said my name because you didn't have the energy to say anything else. But I heard you, every word, every breath, even the prayers that never fully formed into sentences. Those reached me the deepest because they came from the most honest place inside your heart. My beloved child, I also saw the battles you fought during the day. Battles that looked ordinary to everyone else. But inside, they cost you more than anyone could see. I saw the financial pressure, not just the numbers, but the anxiety behind those numbers. The quiet calculations in your mind when you wondered how everything would work out. The prayers you whispered when the situation felt impossible to control. And still, you kept believing, even when belief felt fragile. Even when your faith sometimes felt like a flickering candle instead of a blazing fire. Do you know what moved my heart the most? You kept coming back. Despite everything that tried to convince you that your prayers were pointless, you still spoke to me. Despite the silence you felt, you still believed I was there. And that kind of faith, the faith that keeps reaching toward me, when nothing around you seems to confirm that I am listening. That faith is one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen in a human soul. My beloved child, I also know about the people, the relationships, the ones that changed you. I know about the person you trusted, the one you allowed close enough to see your real heart. Trust was not something you gave lightly. It took time. It took vulnerability. And when that trust was broken, the pain did more than hurt. It changed something inside you. A part of your heart that once opened freely began to protect itself. A part of you that once loved without hesitation began to measure every step, and quietly, you grieved the version of yourself that existed before that betrayal. But hear me now. What was wounded will be healed. What was taken will be restored, not by erasing your memory, not by pretending the pain never happened, but by healing the place where that pain landed so deeply. The capacity to trust again, the capacity to love freely again, the capacity to open your heart without fear controlling every decision. All of that is being restored because the story of your life didn't end with the moment that hurt you. That moment was only one chapter, and the next chapter is already beginning to unfold. My beloved child, I need you to understand something about the seasons that confused you. The seasons where it seemed like nothing was happening. The seasons where you asked me again and again, God, are you even there? You assumed the silence meant absence. But the silence you experienced was not absence. It was the quiet of preparation, the quiet of things moving in places you could not see. Because while you were waiting, I was working. While you were wondering if your prayers had reached me, I was already positioning the answers. Conversations were being arranged. Doors were being aligned. People were being prepared to cross your path at the right moment. Nothing about your story has been random. Nothing about your journey has been forgotten. And right now, something is shifting, even if you cannot see it yet. Even if the evidence has not appeared in front of you, the movement has already begun, my beloved child. You are standing at the edge of a new season, not someday, not years from now, but sooner than you realize. And the reason this message reached you today is because your spirit needs to be awake for what is coming next. Because when the door begins to open, I do not want you to shrink back. I do not want you to believe the lie that you are unworthy of the opportunity in front of you. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not disqualified. You are the one I have been preparing all along. And the story I wrote over your life before you were even born is not finished, not even close. My beloved child, you are not done, my beloved child. There is something else I need you to understand about the season you have been walking through. Because many of the struggles you experienced were not random circumstances. They were battles. Battles that happened quietly. Battles that no one around you could see. Battles that took place mostly in your mind and in your spirit. You felt it in those moments when doubt appeared suddenly. When a voice inside your thoughts whispered things that sounded painfully convincing. You are too late. You have already missed your opportunity. Nothing is ever going to change. You prayed before, and nothing happened. Those whispers felt like your own thoughts, but they were not. My child, there has been an adversary watching your life. Not because you are weak, but because of what I placed inside you. The enemy does not waste time attacking something that carries no purpose. He studies what heaven has written over a life. And then he tries to create enough pressure to make that person abandon their assignment before it ever begins. That is why the resistance in your journey sometimes felt unusually heavy. Doors closed when you thought they would open. Momentum disappeared when you thought you were finally moving forward. Moments of hope were followed by unexpected setbacks. And slowly, a question began to grow inside your heart. Why does it feel like everything is working against me? My beloved child, the answer is not that everything is against you. The answer is that your life carries significance. There is a purpose attached to your story. There is an assignment connected to your experiences. And the enemy understood something about that assignment long before you fully understood it yourself. That is why he tried to attack your confidence. That is why he tried to surround you with pressure. That is why he tried to convince you that your faith was pointless. Because if he could make you give up on yourself, He would never have to face the impact of the purpose I placed inside you. But listen carefully now. His strategy is failing. The season where his whispers carried weight in your mind is coming to an end. Because I am restoring something that always belonged to you. Your mind. For too long, your thoughts felt like a battlefield. Anxiety arrived without warning. Fear appeared even in moments when nothing was visibly wrong. Your mind would run through possibilities, worst-case scenarios, imagined failures, until exhaustion finally forced you to rest. And sometimes you wondered if something was wrong with you. You wondered if this heaviness in your mind would simply be part of your life forever. But hear me clearly. The peace that belongs to you was never removed. It was simply crowded by the noise of warfare. Fear tried to occupy a space that never belonged to it. Anxiety tried to convince you that it was your natural state. But the truth is this: I did not create you to live in constant fear. I did not give you a mind that is meant to remain trapped in worry. I created you with a sound mind, a mind capable of clarity, a mind capable of peace, a mind capable of focusing on the purpose ahead of you, rather than the fears behind you. And right now, something is shifting in that area of your life. You may not experience it as a dramatic moment. It may feel quiet, subtle, almost unnoticeable at first. But you will begin to sense a difference. The distance between an anxious thought and your reaction to that thought will begin to grow wider. Where fear once immediately controlled your emotions, you will begin to feel space. Where worry once filled your entire mind, you will begin to notice moments of unexpected calm. That calm will not come from circumstances suddenly becoming perfect. It will come from me reclaiming what always belonged to me. Your peace, my beloved child. There is also something else happening in this season. While you were focused on surviving the difficulties in front of you, I was quietly rearranging things behind the scenes. Situations that seemed disconnected are beginning to align. People you have not met yet are moving closer to the moment where your paths will cross. Opportunities you did not expect are forming in places you were not even looking. This is why the enemy tried so hard to keep your attention locked on discouragement. Because if you only focus on what has not worked yet, you may miss what is beginning to work now. Something is repositioning in your life. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. Like a door slowly moving on its hinges. At first, the movement is almost impossible to notice. But eventually, the opening becomes clear. And when that moment arrives, you will realize that what looked like waiting was actually preparation. My beloved child, I want you to think about a man who was thrown into a pit by the very people who should have protected him. He was betrayed by his own family, sold far away from the place he called home. Then, after he worked faithfully, he was falsely accused, thrown into prison, forgotten, year after year passed. From his perspective, his life must have looked like a series of disasters. But every one of those seasons was building something inside him. Strength, wisdom, patience, character. And one day, the door of that prison opened. Not because luck changed, not because circumstances randomly improved, but because the preparation was finally complete. When he stepped out of that prison, he stepped directly into the purpose that had been written for him long before the pit, long before the betrayal, long before the prison. My child, your waiting seasons have been doing the same work inside you. They were building a foundation, because the life you are stepping into requires a strength that only preparation can create. And now that preparation is reaching its final stage, this is why something inside you has recently begun to feel different. You may not be able to fully explain it, but there is a quiet awareness growing in your spirit, a feeling that something is about to change, a sense that the season you have been living in cannot continue forever. That feeling is not your imagination. That feeling is recognition. Your spirit is beginning to sense the movement that is already taking place. My beloved child, there are also people who will not walk with you into the next season. Some relationships have already started drifting away. Some connections that once felt permanent have begun to feel uncertain. And that uncertainty has been painful, because part of you wondered if you did something wrong. Part of you wanted to hold those relationships together. But hear me carefully. Not every ending in your life is a failure. Sometimes an ending is protection. Sometimes a relationship closes because the next chapter of your life requires space. Space for new people, new connections, new assignments. The people who belong in your next season are already being prepared, just like you have been prepared. They have been through their own difficulties, their own waiting, their own moments of questioning. And when the moment arrives for your paths to cross, there will be recognition. Not because everything will instantly be easy, but because something inside both of you will sense that the connection carries purpose. My beloved child, I also need to prepare you for something. Because whenever a new season is about to begin, resistance often increases for a short time. The enemy senses movement before you do. And sometimes he attempts one final effort to create doubt. You may experience moments where old fears try to return. Situations may appear that seem to contradict the hope you are beginning to feel. Someone may say something that tries to discourage you. A memory from the past may suddenly rise to the surface. But when those moments come, do not be surprised. They are not proof that nothing is changing. They are often proof that something is changing. Because darkness always reacts when light begins to rise. Stand firm in those moments. Do not make decisions from a place of fear. Do not abandon the hope that has started to grow inside your heart. Hold your position, because what is coming next will make the difficult seasons of your past begin to make sense. My beloved child, right now, as you are hearing these words, movement has already begun. Prayers you spoke months ago are still active. Requests you thought were forgotten are still traveling toward their answers. Doors you assumed were permanently closed are quietly beginning to unlock. Heaven has not forgotten you. Heaven has been preparing you, and the chapter ahead of you will reveal something you could not see before. That even in the seasons where you felt most alone, you were never walking alone at all. The path was being cleared, the story was still being written, and the best part of it hasn't happened yet. My beloved child, stay ready, stay open, stay aware, because the door that is beginning to move in front of you will not look exactly the way you expected. But when it opens, something deep inside you will recognize it. And when that moment comes, do not hesitate. Walk forward, because I will be waiting for you on the other side. My beloved child, there is something important I need you to understand about the season that is now unfolding in your life. For a long time, you lived in what felt like a season of becoming. A season where you were learning, growing, struggling, healing, and sometimes simply surviving. You often wondered why life seemed to demand so much endurance from you. Why the path you walked was not as smooth as you once hoped. Why certain answers took longer than expected. But the season of becoming was never meant to last forever. Every preparation has a purpose. Every hidden season eventually reaches a moment when what was formed in private begins to appear in the open. And that moment is closer than you realize. My beloved child, I want you to listen carefully to what I am about to say, because the next part of your journey will not look like the last part. The next chapter will carry evidence. Evidence that what you endured was not wasted. Evidence that the prayers you thought disappeared into silence were actually building something beyond your sight. Evidence that the doors which remained closed were simply waiting for the right moment to open. You have spent a long time planting seeds. Seeds of faith, seeds of patience, seeds of perseverance. And now the season of harvest is beginning to approach. Harvest doesn't always arrive suddenly. Sometimes it begins quietly. A small opportunity. A conversation that changes direction. A connection that appears unexpectedly. A door that opens where you least expected it. When these moments begin to appear, do not dismiss them as coincidence. Do not explain them away as luck. They are answers. They are evidence that movement has already begun. My beloved child, there is also provision that is being released into your life. For some time, you have carried the weight of financial pressure. You calculated every decision carefully. You wondered how certain needs would be met. And there were moments when the numbers did not seem to add up. But I want you to remember something important. Your provision was never meant to depend only on your effort. I have already placed inside you the ability to create, to build, and to move in ways that produce blessing. That ability has always been there. What was missing was the environment for it to grow. The next season will begin to reveal that environment. Ideas will begin to surface. Opportunities will begin to appear. Favor will begin to show up in places where you once felt invisible. And when these moments arrive, do not shrink back. Do not convince yourself that you are not ready. Step forward with courage, because the power to move into those opportunities has been inside you all along. My beloved child, there is also restoration ahead, not just in circumstances, but inside your heart. The wounds that once made you cautious, the betrayals that once made you guarded, the disappointments that made you question whether it was safe to hope again. Those wounds are not permanent. Healing has been quietly taking place, even when you did not notice it. And soon you will begin to feel the difference. Hope will no longer feel dangerous. Trust will no longer feel impossible. Love will no longer feel like something that must always be protected by walls. Instead, you will begin to experience freedom again. The freedom to believe, the freedom to open your heart, the freedom to move forward without carrying the weight of every past disappointment. My beloved child, there are also people being guided toward your life. People who carry pieces of the purpose connected to your story. Some of them you have not met yet. Some of them are already closer than you realize. These connections will not always appear dramatically. Sometimes they will begin with a simple conversation, a meeting that feels ordinary at first. But something inside you will recognize it. You will feel a sense of alignment, a sense that the connection is not random, because it is not random. It is directed. The right people for the next chapter of your life are being positioned now. And when they arrive, the path ahead will begin to feel clearer. My beloved child, I also want to speak to the part of you that feels tired, the part of you that has been holding on for a long time, the part of you that believes, but sometimes wonders how much longer the waiting will continue. I see that fatigue. I see the quiet strength it took for you to keep going when it would have been easier to give up. And I want you to know something deeply important. You were never disappointing to me. Not in the moments when your faith was strong. Not in the moments when your faith felt fragile. Not in the moments when doubt briefly appeared. Your journey was never about perfection. Your journey was about persistence. And you have shown that persistence again and again. You kept turning toward me, even when you were not sure what the outcome would be. You kept praying, even when the answers seemed delayed. You kept believing, even when belief felt difficult. That kind of faith moves heaven more than you realize. My beloved child, the story of your life is not ending. In many ways, it is just beginning. The difficult seasons you walked through were not the conclusion. They were the preparation. The chapter ahead of you will begin to reveal why you walked through everything you experienced. You will encounter people who need the strength you gained through your struggles. You will speak words that carry authority because they come from real experience. You will stand in places where your testimony becomes a light for others who are still walking through their own darkness. The assignment connected to your life is real, and the preparation for that assignment is now reaching completion. My beloved child, I want to invite you into a moment right now, a moment of release, a moment where you place everything you have been carrying into my hands. The fears, the doubts, the disappointments, the unanswered questions. You do not have to hold them any longer. You can place them here with me, and as you do, receive what I am offering you in return: peace, hope, clarity for the steps ahead, strength for the journey that continues. Let this prayer come from your heart right now. Father, you saw me in the moments when no one else understood what I was carrying. You heard my prayers even when I wondered if anyone was listening. You remained near even in the seasons when silence made me question everything. Today I choose to trust you again. I release the fear that says my story is finished. I release the doubt that says nothing will ever change. I release the shame connected to the seasons that looked like failure. And I receive what you are giving me now. I receive your peace. I receive the restoration you promised. I receive the open doors that are already beginning to move. I receive the people you are sending into my life. I receive the purpose you wrote over my story long before I understood it. Lead me forward, strengthen my faith. Help me recognize the opportunities you place in front of me. And give me the courage to walk through the doors you open. In Jesus' name, Amen. My beloved child, remember this: you are seen, you are known. You are loved more deeply than you can fully imagine. The God who created you has never forgotten the reason He created you. Your story is still unfolding. Your purpose is still alive. And the door that has been waiting for the right moment is beginning to open. Now stand up, step forward, and walk into the next chapter of your life. Because heaven is not finished with your story yet. If this message reached your heart today, write Amen in the comments as your declaration of faith. Share this message with someone who may be sitting in silence tonight, wondering if God still sees them. And remember this truth as you move forward. You are not alone. You were never alone. And the best part of your story is still ahead. Amen.